Hi, I'm Kyle, and welcome to Materia. Hollow Knight finds its inspiration in classic and contemporary games, but manages to become its own unique experience through its incredibly thoughtful game design, interesting lore, and beautiful art. Metroidvania is a term that was coined to quickly describe video games that have a clear inspiration from the decades-old video game franchises Metroid and Castlevania. These action exploration games define this genre. But a funny thing happened as we moved from the 16-bit consoles and 32-bit consoles like the Super Nintendo and the Sony PlayStation. Game developers all but forgot about this particular type of game design as gaming moved into high-end 3D consoles. Nintendo and Konami slowed down creating these titles, and today Konami has stopped altogether. So this genre, created by two of the biggest video game companies in the world, kind of went on a hiatus. However, with the advent and success of indie gaming and the new distribution platforms on consoles such as Nintendo eShop, PlayStation Store, and even the PC distribution platforms like Steam, indie games have experienced a whole new wave of fans. So now this genre, created by the big companies, is being adopted by the little guys, and today the genre is better than ever. The thing that makes Hollow Knight incredibly neat is that not only does it borrow inspiration from Metroidvania titles, it also borrows inspiration from contemporary video game titles as well. One in particular is Dark Souls. Dark Souls brought back the idea that not only could video games be fun, but they could also be incredibly challenging and require the player to develop their skills. Not just skills on a virtual skill tree set, but actually, as a player, get better at playing the game. Hollow Knight has lots of parallels with Dark Souls. For example, in Dark Souls, you can heal at bonfires, and in Hollow Knight, you can heal at benches. The bonfires and benches have more parity than just that, though. When you die in either game, you respawn at the last bonfire you sat on, or bench. Also lose all the particular currency in either game, too. In Dark Souls, you lose, well, souls. And in Hollow Knight, you lose your money, which is called Geo. This currency in either game is critical to hold on to, as it allows you in both games to enhance your characters or buy items. And so that's kind of where the similarities with Dark Souls almost ends. Almost, because the game also shares a penchant for a mysterious lore and weird, ambiguous characters that are silly and kind of creepy in a world that is most certainly crumbling all around you, or has already crumbled. Hollow Knight's lineage to the Metroidvania genre is where things get really fun. Just as Metroid has an exploration map element, in Hollow Knight you'll have to explore for a little while without a map. The good news is that once you acquire a map, your character will automatically fill in the areas you've explored. You can also purchase little badges to place on the map to mark important or exciting areas. The feeling of organic exploration in this game is executed so well. The game does guide you a little bit through gatekeeping or closing off areas until a key or a traversal ability is acquired, but for the most part, it feels as if a large part of these discoveries as a player are you thinking through your map, your skill sets, and remembering little hints that are scattered throughout the world to figure out where to go to next. The game does this fantastic thing that I can only imagine from a design perspective was very difficult to pull off. Hollow Knight is incredibly challenging, and it does not have any difficulty adjustment. So there's no easy mode, medium difficulty, or extreme mode. There's nothing like that. There's no difficulty. So you can very easily stumble into areas and possibly into bosses that you might not quite be ready for yet, but you could actually still take on. And when you do hit those types of roadblocks in some games, it could be incredibly discouraging. You could feel like you have to do a lot of backtracking. But in Hollow Knight, it's not. Hollow Knight successfully instills a sense of accomplishment in the smallest of successes. For example, you could play for hours, and die a lot, and you will die a lot. And the only thing you've accomplished is discovering a new shortcut between two areas. And while that seems small, it can be huge the next time you sit down with the game. Shortcuts can save precious time and help you avoid dangerous areas you're not ready for, or would rather not bother with right now. And that's the magic of Hollow Knight. The game hands itself over to you and says, good luck. And not even in a jerk way. It respects you as a player, and if you do become stuck, the game still manages to guide you with little hints placed on your map, dialogue through the interesting characters, or gives you the chance to save up for an item, to save your geo up for an item that could potentially lead to a new area. And the game can be punishing if you're not patient. You're almost never safe, and getting comfy and cavalier can lead to a very quick death no matter your skill or the items and charms that you have equipped. And speaking of that, the game doesn't really have a skill tree system, but it does do a couple of things. First, when you beat a major boss, you'll usually acquire some sort of traversal skill, meaning that upon beating the boss, you earn an attribute that now allows you to jump off a wall, dash across a gap, or smash through the ground to access a previously inaccessible area. The second way that you can improve your character's abilities is through charms that you find throughout the game and that may increase your magic or your attack or even your defensive abilities. The catch here is that these skills have a cost associated with them, and you can only change them by sitting on a bench. It's almost like changing a loadout. So each charm costs a certain number of notches, and depending on your progress through the game, you either have enough notches for your charm loadout, or well, you don't. The third way you improve your abilities is, well, your abilities as the player. Almost all games, of course, have that learning curve in which you learn to play the game and get better at the game. However, Hollow Knight does this really incredible job of requiring you to die a lot and learn a lot. And it's almost always worth it. You don't really have the most versatile moveset, but through really tight controls and fair enemy design, you'll learn enemy patterns and the best approaches to killing them. You'll also improve on how well you move in and navigate around the world and enemy attacks. I really can't think of a similar game that makes me feel as if I could master it, quite like Hollow Knight makes me feel. Its systems are so tight, so clean, and so precise that when I die, I'm confident that it was 100% my fault. And I feel like that's an accomplishment in great game design. Hollow Knight really captures and elevates the Metroidvania genre in a spectacular way. Through its gorgeous visuals and compelling design and difficulty, it can be super hard to put down.